kilometers between us. I looped around casually, moving toward the cookie stand. My Doc Marten boots and jeans were casual enough to blend in and be forgettable later. I tugged the hem of my white tank top lower down my body, exposing just a slip of the gray material of the bra underneath. I'd give him a bonus for being an easy target. I steadied my pace, trying to give him room and without staring, a skill I'd perfected. I aimed for the right pocket, which was hanging slightly lower than the other, hopefully the sign of a full wallet. If I was wrong, there wasn't much chance I'd get the other one without attracting notice. Dipping into an empty pocket is a lost target. I stalled as he bought his cookie, watching to make sure I'd been right about the pocket with the wallet. Sure enough, his hand reached in and pulled it out to pay the teenager behind the counter. I stopped and bent over to tie my boot, another stalling tactic, following him by watching out of the corner of my eye to where he stood off between two stores, digging the cookie out of the bag and stuffing it into his mouth. He was at least a couple of heads taller than I was. Not a problem, but I preferred people more my height, which made picking more natural. He had a wide jawbone and deep-set eyes. He was looking curiously around, as if trying to pick out which direction he wanted to go next. He caught my eye briefly on his glance around, and I froze. I'd learned early on if I looked at the face, it became harder to make the move. This is a real person. I was a thief. I usually picked a scruffier type that didn't look like a nice person. With the jacket, however, he was too easy a target to miss, and I was out of time to pick another. I spotted the closest trash bin and waited him out. It didn't take the guy long to finish his cookie. He aimed for the trash bin I'd picked out. I started walking, pretending to decide not to buy a cookie. From my pocket, I dug out a crumpled piece of paper to throw away. The next few moments slowed for me, as it did every time. My heart thundered. I questioned again for the millionth time why I did this. I prayed I wouldn't get caught, and that if I did, this guy wasn't the type who would beat me to a pulp. With every step I took closer, I thought about changing my mind and running away. This was wrong. I was a criminal. Every wallet I took added up into some kind of unseen karma debt, and one day I'd strike out, big time. Except my brother and I wouldn't have a roof over our heads if I gave up now. One more. I promised myself this would be the last. I'd find a good job soon. We just needed to scrape by this week. I focused on the jacket. I aimed and increased my pace to match his stride. Bump. My left hand brushed against his jacket at the heavy pocket. My right hand released the trash, tossing it away. I caught the strap of my tank top that slid down my shoulder. Practiced moves I'd done dozens of times. Big brown eyes flashed, focusing on my face. Instead of lowering to my breasts, they remained, studying. That alone caught me off guard. Targets never did that. Not holding my gaze for so long, as if he was disinterested in the body and instead wanted to see the person. See me. At least his eyes were up instead of down at waist level. It was enough. My hand was already in his pocket, curled around the leather wallet, lifting. All I had to do was blush and apologize, tuck the wallet under my arm and out of sight and turn. "Hey, you, girl." The shout was so desperate, so commanding, my whole body started to quake and I stopped. My target and I broke our locked gazes and sought out the voice. It came from across the corridor at the pretzel shop. A guy behind the counter, wearing a folded paper hat and blue and white print apron, stared us both down and pointed right at me. "Come here," he shouted.